Hello, everyone. My name is Carolyn Cooper. I am the Senior Vice President of Marketing and Communications at Project Lead the Way. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar this afternoon. Today, we welcome educators across the country to discover ways that PLTW can provide an exceptional learning experience for students and to share how to make programs possible through various funding opportunities. Before we begin, I'll share a few tips on how to maximize your webinar experience. We have several PLTW team members joining us today to moderate the Q&A as well as the chat box. So please join the conversation, share your story, and ask questions by engaging with fellow participants and subject matter experts. If you have a question, the best way to get that answered throughout the webinar is just to submit them through Q&A. But please do not worry if we aren't able to answer your question live today. We will follow up after the webinar with additional information and answers to outstanding questions. And we also request that you take our next step survey at the end of the webinar. Our agenda for today, we're going to start by giving you a brief introduction to Project Lead the Way and what it provides you and your students. Then we'll hear from actual PLTW students about their experiences with the Project Lead the Way program. We will have a discussion with a panel of PLTW engineering teachers and administrators about the successes they've had and how they've implemented and funded their PLTW engineering programs. Then after hearing from your peers, we will show you what it is like to be immersed in a PLTW engineering classroom. We will also share implementation steps and various funding options available to schools and districts. And finally, we will round out our time by answering any remaining questions. In our courses, students step into the role of an engineer, adopt a problem-solving mindset, and make the leap from dreamers to doers. The program's courses allow for flexible, integrated learning so students can experience a wide range of career options, as well as engage students in compelling real-world challenges that help them become better collaborators and thinkers. Students leave with in-demand knowledge and skills they will use in high school and for the rest of their lives on any career path they take. Time and time again, we hear stories about how excited students are when it's time for PLTW, how students who normally don't step forward are the ones who shine in class, and also about the effect on the teaching experience. We hear how teachers who've reached a burnout point have been reinvigorated once they've had the chance to teach Project Lead the Way. And that's everywhere, from remote Alaskan districts along the Bering Strait to the largest districts in the US to the single building schools in rural towns. All of the stories are consistent. PLTW's research-proven, hands-on, problem-based curriculum unlocks students and teachers' potential. Wow. Well, as you can see from that amazing video, PLTW engineering goes beyond your typical high school classroom. So let's talk about what makes the PLTW engineering curriculum different. Since 1997, PLTW has been developing engineering curriculum. So while the organization and curriculum has grown and expanded, engineering has remained a key offering and focus for Project Lead the Way. The experience the PLTW curriculum team has gained over the years, both in the field and in previous teaching experience, allows the curriculum to continually evolve with the engineering field and meet the needs of both students and teachers who participate in the program. In addition to that, students who participate in PLTW engineering explore the many areas of engineering or specialize in a topic or career that most appeals to their interest and skill set. This includes mechanical, civil, industrial, electrical, environmental, as well as biomechanical engineering. PLTW engineering is focused on real-world experiences that tie directly to the day-to-day experiences of actual engineering professionals. So in every course, students will experience activity, project, and problem-based approaches and use software and tools that they would be using in a real workplace after graduation. So now just to walk you through our actual curriculum, there are 10 different courses within the PLTW engineering program that allow you to implement the program in the way that makes the most sense for your school and for your students. A PLTW team member will work with you through the implementation process to determine what courses make sense for you and build a plan to bring them to your school. So that you can get a better sense of the PLTW engineering curriculum, let's explore the PLTW Engineering Essentials course, which was first designed as a first exposure experience to inspire students of all backgrounds to explore the breadth of engineering-related career opportunities. Each unit introduces students to a variety of careers by providing diverse examples of engineering professionals engaged in addressing engineering challenges. So things like increasing global equity through international relief efforts and discovering alternative energy solutions, to planning sustainable cities and inventing new technologies to improve people's health. And then to prepare educators to lead the learning and build their confidence in subject areas, we provide transformative professional development. PLTW core training is designed to create dynamic learning experiences for educators through powerful and flexible instructional support, as well as an ongoing professional community. Teachers take on the role of a student, engage in in-depth exploration of PLTW coursework, and gain valuable experience to take back to their classrooms. So now to the fun part. So we've provided a big picture of the PLTW engineering program, but we want you to hear directly from some of our students. Last fall, we were able to interview students about their PLTW engineering experience. So while watching the interviews, keep an eye out for the transportable skills that these students possess. We couldn't be prouder of them, and we hope that you are as well.
My favorite is the NASA Hunch project that we are currently working on for our senior capstone course, which we are designing a magnetic boot that can be used to walk around Starship in space.
I would have to say the project would be building rockets in aerospace with Mr. James, because we couldn't fly them if they weren't safe, so we had to constantly check and make sure that all the specifications were met, and just trial and error to make sure that we weren't going to hurt anyone.
I love working in groups, and the best part is that I get to put my ideas out there and have other people's ideas on the table, and so if my idea isn't always great, we can go with theirs, or I can check things off of them. I think that working in groups is the best way to get things done.
I like the fact that the teachers here care about what they're doing, and they're passionate about what they teach, and they treat us like adults to get us ready for college and how the real world is.
Probably aerospace, just because it was the most hands-on out of all the PLTW courses. I really liked building things and seeing how they worked out and testing them, and then going back and fixing everything that went wrong. And that one was the most like that. I really enjoyed that class.
I mean, you have to be somewhat of a people person and not shut down other people for their ideas.
As of right now, I have been admitted to OSU, and so I'm going to go there and I will major in aerospace engineering.
Well, I plan on attending OSU and majoring in mechanical and aerospace engineering, and after that I'd like to work for a race team.
Yes, actually that has. It's helped me realize what I enjoy doing, what I don't enjoy doing, what I'd like to do in the future. and then what aspects of everything kind of go together in a way. But yeah, I think they definitely helped a lot. So.
Wow. Well, every time I see these student interviews, I am reminded why I do what I do. Thank you to these students for sharing their time with us last fall so that you could hear from them today. And thank you so much to our panelists for being here to share their stories. I'd like to briefly introduce all of you, and then we will dive into our questions. We do not have Ms. Mitchell with us this afternoon, so I'll first start with Mr. Ricky Reeves. He is a 21-22 PLTW Outstanding Engineering teacher from Francis Howell High School in Missouri. We also have Ms. Janet Lopez, a PLTW Pre-Engineering and Computer Science teacher from Muskogee High School in Oklahoma. So I'll start with you, Mr. Reeves. What was the initial motivation for bringing PLTW Engineering to your school or district? What problem were you solving for?
It happened before I got into our district, but in the early 2000s, we were a tech module based school, and we were trying to get away from that. It had a lot of maintenance issues and a lot of ongoing training that had to be accomplished. So we wanted something with minimal ongoing training and maintenance after our initial implementation, but still something that had individualization for each teacher at each school that they can make their own.
Thank you so much. And Ms. Lopez, same question. What was the initial motivation for bringing Project Lead the Way Engineering to your school?
Well, the lady who brought it, Daryl Venters, said that she had read some research that China and India were producing more engineers than America, and that there was going to be a slump in engineering students. And so she wanted to help America and fill that void. And she wanted to help the Muskogee students have the ability to do engineering should they desire. So really it came about just trying to help America produce more engineers.
Thank you so much for highlighting that workforce pipeline development angle as well as the career pathways development. Really appreciate that. Okay, so talk to me a little bit about the impact of PLTW engineering on your students. I'll start with you this time, Ms. Lopez.
Well, for several of them, it solidified their idea. This is really what I want to do. I want to be an electrical engineer. I want to be a mechanical engineer. So they've gone through the course. There are several who went, were just placed in the course and then like, yeah, this engineering stuff is really cool. One of the things though, I think it does is that it really teaches them how to think. And it teaches them that failure is really not failure. It's just the first step into finding a really great solution. So we embrace failure. We embrace thinking outside the box, PLTW does, and just giving the kids just that experience of walking through what it's like in an engineer's shoes really helps them think critically. And I know that sounds so, I don't know, cloud-based kind of, but it really does. It helps them think critically when they're laid out. It's almost Apollo 13 all over again. We have this problem. Here's what you have. Now fix it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And how about you, Mr. Reeves? What's been the impact of PLTW engineering on your students?
The students have taken their focus primarily away from, I won't say taken it away, but we've shifted our focus for our college-bound students away from the sciences and maths and shifted it to the engineering department and the industrial tech or standard shop classes a little bit. But in the standard shop classes, we've shifted more to the engineering and design side of things, allowing them to understand how things are designed and built rather than just building things. And it allows them to kind of, like Ms. Lopez said, focus on what they want to focus on in college rather than wasting their more expensive time in college. They go in with a more clear focus of what they want to do when they get there.
Absolutely. Thank you both. And a follow-up question, what's been the impact of teaching PLTW for your teachers? I'll start with you, Ms. Lopez.
Well, for me, it was very transformative to, number one, do what I really wanted to do, and that's to challenge students to have them think beyond the book. In fact, I teach another course, physical science, and I don't use a book because there's so much more out there than what's, I don't know, I think books kind of box kids in. So for me, it was very transformative in my teaching style. I've completely changed. I'm no longer the teacher I used to be. And that's all due to Project Lead the Way.
That's fantastic. Can you give me an example? What's something that you do now, or what have you incorporated into your practice that you wouldn't have previously without having been a Project Lead the Way teacher?
Projects, open-ended projects where you give them the box of goods and say, here, do this. And really just hearing the students, you know, I told somebody I really came into this teaching profession, and it's almost a selfish thing because I truly love watching kids get it, you know, that light bulb moment. And there are so many more light bulb moments when kids walk through projects, they get it, they understand it. The just-in-time teaching, you don't know what this is, well, let's go look it up. Let's go see if we can find out. And those, you know, I don't know, maybe that's just the selfish side of me, is wanting to see kids with those light bulb moments.
Absolutely, thank you. And how about you, Mr. Reeves? What's been the impact of teaching Project Lead the Way on you?
It's allowed me to kind of branch out a little more rather than just teaching to the curriculum. We adapt, we modify the classes to be more focused on the students and what they want to learn, while still training them for the outcomes we want them to achieve. Like Ms. Lopez said, we give them a box of stuff and say, make it do this, and see where they go with it. They follow the engineering process and they're learning, but they don't realize they're learning. And it's a wonderful thing to see when they get it. And they're having fun, they're learning, and it's not that sit and get anymore. It's all hands-on, and it's just a wonderful thing to see the students change in that way.
Thank you so much. And tied to that, you know, what do you think makes the PLTW experience different or unique at your respective schools? I'll start with you, Mr. Reeves.
We have 3 schools in our district, and each one of our schools teaches it differently. So our school in particular, I've taken more of the do to learn than the other schools have. I'll give them the projects oftentimes with no precursor and just say, let's see what you come up with, and just let the kids kind of control the learning. And we've really taken off with that. It's allowed me a little more freedom in guiding the classes, and changing my follow-up lessons to fit the learning environment of those specific students and help keep them engaged, and not lose them or get lost in the weeds on some project that we don't need to do, or it's just there because it's supposed to be there.
Thank you so much. And how about you, Ms. Lopez? What makes the PLTW experience different or unique at your school and district?
Well, I think I don't mean to keep coming back to the same thing, but really it's the projects. It's the, as Mr. Reeves said, the sit and get. You're no longer sitting and getting, you're up, you're moving, you're actually doing something that means something. You're tackling a, you know, like in EES, we look at the engineering goals, and it brings meaning to the work. I very rarely hear the question, why do I have to know this? Because I'm explaining why you have to know it. You're doing why you have to know it. So it's definitely brought a different culture to the school. We've also implemented, and then we had to back off from it, but the biomedical, just there are so many cool things that happen through Project Lead the Way, and it's transforming teachers, it's transforming students, and transforming schools. So it really brings about, this is what the world is like.
Thank you. Such a nice segue because my next question is just about that, the real world element and the real world learning. So I'll start with you, Ms. Lopez. Can you tell me how you are bringing the industry real world problem solving into the classroom?
Absolutely. One of the, we have an electrical plant just right down the road. So in POE, when we talk about electrical generation and distribution, one of the guys comes in and talks about what happens. And then I also teach cybersecurity, but really and truly, one of our businessmen in Muskogee got hacked by Russian hackers. So I brought him in to talk about that. I joined the Greater Muskogee Manufacturing Association. And so we were able to do some tours into some engineering, but even in just manufacturing, we went to a manufacturing plant that did tile, and we went to another plant that created fans. And then we got to go back into the engineering and see that. And then one of their engineers came out and talked to us about the manufacturing process, because at that time in IED, there was a manufacturing process. So just looking at my curriculum and just reaching out into the community and bringing people in. And in every case I hear, wow, I wish I had this when I was in high school.
That's phenomenal. Thank you so much. And how about you, Mr. Reeves? Can you tell me how you're bringing the industry or real world into your classroom?
Every project, we tie it back to how would I use this in industry? How would I use this in life? Even if it's not tied to a direct product, we tie it back to, well, where could you use this even if you weren't an engineer at home, just to make it a real world experience. We bring in engineers every time we possibly can. Over the last 2 years, it's been tougher. We've been doing a lot of Skype and virtual stuff, but we bring them in, we do it with the robotics, TSA, anytime we can get somebody to talk to the students and give them real world experience, we do that. Also, 2 of our 3 engineering teachers are from industry, myself included. And we always tie it back, well, when we were in this industry, this is how we did it, this is why we did it, and try to pass that experience along.
Wonderful, thank you. So for each of you, can you walk me through your implementation process for bringing on the PLTW engineering program? I'll start with you, Ms. Lopez. What was your implementation process?
Well, I wish Daryl Venters was on the call, but she, like I said, her heart was to develop engineers. And so we actually wrote a grant. It was a Perkins Money High Growth Emergent Technology Grant. She said the hardest part was finding somebody. So I told her, I said, I must have been the scum on the bottom of the pond, but she found me, and I really did have a heart for stuff like this. And so from my end, I went to 2 trainings that summer, came back and spent $50,000 in product, but that was from the grant. And so from there, the first year we did IED, and then we implemented POE, and then it just has grown. From there, we brought in biomedical, and then I also brought in computer science. So I don't feel like I'm answering your question, but all of it started with that high growth Perkins grant. And we ended up getting that about 2 more years, not as much the first year. And that was able to purchase, and we still have some of the computers from that. But I hope I answered that question.
You did, thank you. You actually touched on a couple of things I wasn't expecting you to with related to the funding and some of the grant resources that you leveraged. So absolutely, thank you. And how about you, Ricky? What was your implementation process?
Somewhere around 05, they decided to implement PLTW. So we started with IED and then progressively rolled out to POE the following year. Decided to have DE as our elective course, and then EDD as our capstone. During that time, we did start biomed and computer science a little bit later. We kind of went stagnant and just kept those growing, but we now have aerospace and CEA as well. Hopefully we get SIM real soon, but we're not, real hopeful. It's going to be a couple years. It's quite an expensive program, and we got to get the higher ups on board. So we're growing really fast, but with 3 schools in the district and having to go through all the training, it's quite a process to get a new program or a new class even approved.
Thank you. So excited to hear about what you've done so far in terms of expanding your programs and just the interest in doing so in the future. Thank you both so much for taking the time to share your experience. I appreciate you staying on the line to help us answer any questions as they come through our Q&A. So one of the best ways to find out about a PLTW classroom, aside from hearing from our educators, is to actually visit a PLTW classroom to see the students and teachers in action. And since we aren't able to physically take you to a classroom, we wanted to provide you with the next best thing, a 3-minute peek at what your classroom could be. Wow, thank you to all the students and teachers for their enthusiasm for Project Lead the Way. And thank you again to our panelists for taking the time to share their experiences. Next, I'd like to transition to our presenter for this afternoon, Autumn Berry, Senior Director of Implementations.
Thank you, Carolyn. As Senior Director of Implementations, one of my favorite parts of my job is working alongside school administrators and teachers in creating a customized implementation plan that meets their school's vision and goals to expand opportunities for all students. We just heard from our panelists how they've seen firsthand the way PLTW has transformed the learning and teaching in their schools. But the first step in that transformation process is in creating a strategic plan. And part of that plan is having a detailed view of the required investments and identifying the funding sources that you can use to support your program. PLTW programs vary in cost, but each program includes investments in 3 categories: participation fees, professional development, and equipment and supplies. The participation fee is an annual fee that covers all of the curriculum access and software rights for your PLTW programs. To be able to teach one of our courses, a teacher must be trained by PLTW in our core training experience. This is an online training led by some of the best PLTW teachers in the country. Lastly, our curriculum is project-based and very hands-on, so there are some equipment and supplies that you will need for your implementation. So now that we know more about the investments needed, let's talk about some funding opportunities to help you grow your programs. Every year, we have a wide variety of PLTW grants available for all of the different programs in our pathways. We have grants for brand new programs, as well as program expansion. These PLTW grants are made possible by our partnerships with leading organizations across the country. And since 2016, we have awarded over 5,300 grants to schools totaling over $51 million. And this year, we have more grants available to schools than ever before. Are you looking to make a bigger impact in your district with PLTW by adding new programs? These new PLTW grants will cover the cost of your teacher training, as well as program participation fees for the next 2 years. Please check our grant opportunity webpage to find out more and schedule a meeting with your local PLTW team member. We are ready and willing to find out more about your district vision and help you with your grant application. Through these grants, PLTW will partner with your school or district to help you through your PLTW implementation journey and beyond. Applying for PLTW grants is easy through our simple application process located in your My PLTW account. And if you don't already have one, you can create this account quickly and easily on our website. We award grants on a rolling basis from July 1 to June 30th, so schools may submit applications annually. PLTW keeps applications on file until June 30th of each year, so we may consider schools for more than one grant opportunity throughout the funding cycle. Our PLTW grant opportunities are amazing, especially this year, and we encourage everyone to apply. But in addition to grant funds, there are other funding options to help you grow your PLTW programs. The American Rescue Plan, ARP, just signed into law this year, provides highly flexible, unprecedented funding through the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, ESSER. This program creates a unique opportunity for innovation, equity, and access within your school, and many schools are already taking advantage. These highly flexible funds may be used to support all 3 PLTW investment areas. All of the items on this slide can be used with the funding: curriculum for all students, teacher training, allowable ESEA and Perkins uses, equipment and supplies, technology, in-school, after-school, and summer learning. Because the Act references evidence-based curriculum, we created evidence papers, one for each grade band, which enable you to dive deeper into the structure of our evidence-based curriculum, learn about our unique problem-based learning approach, review the research supporting the positive impact PLTW has on student achievement. And you can download these resources all from our website. Is your head spinning yet? There are so many opportunities, and to help you break it down and compare, we have created a funding side-by-side resource on our website. This will help you see what federal funds are available and which ones can be used for our 3 investment categories. Once you get a handle on how these funding opportunities differ, you're probably wondering, where do I start? For that, I'm going to turn it back over to Carolyn.
Thank you so much, Autumn. Well, we are happy to support you with your next steps. We first recommend that you connect with the PLTW team member to discuss any questions that you may have. We also advise you to visit pltw.org. There you can access a range of resources like module descriptions and the program overviews that Autumn referenced to help you plan your implementation. You can also read blog stories about how other schools have unlocked student potential with Project Lead the Way, as well as access additional funding resources. And lastly, be sure to apply for grant funding at mypltw.org. And this actually concludes the content of our webinar today, but our PLTW team members and panelists will remain on the line to answer any outstanding questions you have. So please, I see that some of you are already adding questions into the chat, but please feel free to add those in the chat or the Q&A box. And for those of you that won't be staying on, thank you again for your time. We will launch a poll to find out what next steps we can help you with. And you should see that on your screen. Well, it just popped up for me, so you should also see that on your screen just now. Lastly, within a week, you'll receive an email with the recording of this webinar and additional resources to help answer any questions. But if you'd like to reach out to a PLTW team member, use the link that's been posted in the chat. But again, this information will also be included in that follow-up email. So thank you again for joining us and have a great rest of your day. I am seeing some folks stay on and a couple of questions are starting to populate. A few related to training. So for those of you that have questions related to that, I'll just kind of give voice to the questions that we're seeing come through. What kind of, can anyone train to teach Project Lead the Way? Some folks are saying they've never taught something like computer science or engineering, but can anyone train to become a Project Lead the Way engineering teacher? And the response or answer to that is yes, anyone can become a Project Lead the Way engineering teacher. We have tons of stories of how teachers who, haven't taught engineering before have found a confidence and just reinvigorated their practice by attending one of our professional development trainings and becoming a teacher trained in this curriculum. Any other questions surfacing?
Carolyn, we do have one question in the Q&A section. How many PLTW engineering courses are there, and what data do we have on what kind of majors students who complete the engineering sequence of courses will go on to in college? And I think Valadia can answer that one.
Yeah, happy to jump in here. So there are a total of 10 engineering courses for you to choose from. And after the webinar, alongside the recording with the resources, there will be a program brochure that has a quick description of all of them. As you work with the PLTW team member, they can shed more light on each course and kind of the benefits and what students explore through that. And then as far as data, we have on our website a PLTW impact page, which sheds a lot of light on the impact that Project Lead the Way can have with students. Within that Q&A section, there is a link already there, but we can add it onto the chat now directly to that pre-K through 12 and post-secondary outcomes, if that's what you're focused on. But there's a lot of different links there that you can look into.
Thank you so much, Valadia. Any additional questions we'd like to give voice to for the folks still remaining on the line? Okay, well, fantastic. Thank you all again for your time this afternoon. Feel free to reach out if there are any additional questions that we didn't cover today. Keep an eye out for those additional materials that we referenced. We really appreciate your time this afternoon.